Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Raw Life Health Show. Here we are with Dr. Fred Bisci. Dr. Fred Bisci's been eating a raw vegan diet now for over 60 years. He's in his 90s, and he wants to talk tonight about a very important topic because it's popular, and it's something called the carnivore diet. So, Fred, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Paul.
Before we get started, you're a nutritionist. You got a PhD in nutrition. You've been a raw vegan for many, many years. And what's your current age?
94.
94 years old. Okay.
I always ate a healthy diet. My mother brought us up on a very healthy diet. You know what I mean? Then when I started to having a little bit of money, I got a job. I started to eat more processed food than I did normally. And then I ran into a guy that was, he was basically a fruitarian. And I didn't agree with that. I don't think in the long term, any radical diet long term with eating just one or two foods. My experience, it doesn't work in the long run. There are people that do it. And, in the beginning, the results could be dramatic because of what you're leaving out, but it doesn't work in the long run. I've seen many, many people try different radical diets. And, they work in the beginning because of what you leave out. What you leave out is the key. The human body is, then I'm going to get into about why this works with the carnivore diet. A lot of people are trying it, and it's working in the beginning successfully. But there's many, many people tried that. But the thing is, the human body is designed to eat a plant-based diet. Every species of animal on Earth has a species-specific diet based on their physiology and anatomical design. Like lions, tigers, big cats, they're basically strict carnivores. Wolves, dogs, and other animals, they're not strict carnivores. They can eat other things. But every animal that you look at, because they're instinctual, they never they don't come outside in their diet based on their diet because they're instinctual. They're not cerebral. Us as humans, because we're cerebral, we have the ability, reasoning and logic. That's part of the problem. So you look at different parts of the world, there's many people that are relatively healthy, eating a completely different diet in different parts of the world. Now, a lot of people that are into the carnivore diet and the different types of diets, we're eating a lot of animal protein. They talk about what Weston Price did, and the Weston Price Foundation recommends that. It says you have to eat animal protein because Weston Price was a dentist, and he did a lot of research. And he found that a lot of these indigenous people had beautiful teeth. And, one of the common denominators was they ate animal protein because they were hunter-gatherers. But actually, the whole point was missed. Because no matter where you're living in the world, and based on the food that's available in the media in certain countries, and this is years ago, they didn't have supermarkets. They didn't have all the food available that we have now, where we could just about eat anything. So, there was a major common denominator. These people they didn't eat no processed food. They were hunter-gatherers or just gatherers. They drank clean water. There was no cell phones to cause problems. There was no other industrial pollution. So you can't come to the conclusion because they ate animal protein with all the other factors available that they had beautiful teeth and they were relatively healthy, because the common denominator was animal protein. To me, that's kind of ludicrous. So now, if you have people in American society eating that same diet, they're not healthy. This country is one of the sickest countries in the world. We have the most advanced medical technology in the world. Why are we so sick? Why are so many people getting so sick? And you have to give medical technology the credit, because a lot of people are surviving on a bad diet with bypass surgery, joint replacement, tumor removal, certain medical treatments that could help people with cancer and inflammatory disease. So the real problem today, and it's causing all the confusion, is the social media. We've been indoctrinated into a healthcare system. It's all about profit. It's not really about keeping people healthy, because if people were ever made aware that if they ate according to their biological design and ate clean, we would very rarely ever be sick. We would live to a very advanced age. We have the ability, the information now, for people that are willing to accept it and implement it into their lives. We have the ability to live to be 100 and feel well and have a sharp mind. You know, there's all kinds of problems taking place with people with dementia and all kinds of issues. This is all related to our lifestyle. Once you understand the biological design of the human body, you eat according to our biological design, and you get out of the psychological trap of being addicted to processed food, because all addiction works through the hunger drive. Now, whether you're addicted to drugs, no matter what you're addicted to, it's going to work through the hunger drive. So the hypothalamus gland, the floor of your brain, has a lot to do with your sex drive, your hunger drive. So when people eat processed food, they find it almost impossible to change, because it's a very powerful addiction. I mean, some of these processed foods, you can't deny they're delicious. And a lot of people don't want to give them up. I've seen people that, you know, they could turn serious disease around, but they wouldn't do it because they didn't want to give up these foods. The real problem is not physical, it's psychological. There's an addict, whatever food you've been eating, no matter where you are in the world, if you're in China, you're in South America, you know, in Europe, the food you eat, good or bad, you become, there's a pleasure aspect of it that causes addiction. So you hear people talk about, basically, I want to go into the carnivore diet. A lot of people following the carnivore diet. You got some doctors out there telling people eat the carnivore diet. And you got people that are doing, and some people are doing very well in the beginning, not because of the animal protein. The animal protein, there's certain things you need to exist. Number one is you have to get breathe oxygen. You got to get some air and breathe oxygen. Number two is water. Number three is not food. You got to get enough sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep, you know, you go without sleep completely for 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to lose your mind. Number four is sufficient calories. So if you eat an animal protein, you're eating 3 ribeye steaks a day, you're going to be very satisfied because of the density of that food creates satisfaction. And it forces, because you're doing that, it forces you to burn body fat. So people lose a lot of weight on that diet. They're satisfied. They're enjoying the steak or whatever meat they're eating. Some people eat eggs and cheese too. And, you know, they call it the carnivore diet. But the whole key, any lifestyle that is successful, that creates relative health, is all based on what I just said and what you leave out. If you ate the best diet in the world and you smoke crack, the best diet in the world ain't going to do you any good. So what you leave out is the key. The most miraculous recoveries I see, and what I found out from a lifetime of research and, you know, fasting, all great remedial things happen on an empty stomach. People think when you eat a lot of food, you have to get all the nutrients and that's going to help you heal. The most remarkable healings I ever saw was, you know, fasting. I've seen, you know, I've got a lot of experience in long-term fasting because I researched everything I did. So what I've seen, like just like with the Atkins diet, when it first started out as a just eating mostly animal protein, it didn't work. People didn't stick to it. They lost tremendous amount of weight. They felt better. Some of the ailments they have, they went into temporary remission, but they didn't stay. They couldn't stay with it. And then they couldn't stay with it because they got cravings. And the people that did stay with it over a long period of time, their health deteriorated. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, I'm on a carnivore diet now, 5 years, 6 years. That's nothing. We're talking about a lifetime. We're talking about growing old and having a great quality of your life. I'm talking about 70, 80, 90 and up, and have all your marbles, having a sharp mental cognitive acuity that a lot of people are losing. You don't lose it when you're eating, and You can start at all different levels. The key is to leave out the processed food. The processed food is a modern day curse. It's a killer. It leads to all the diseases. But we are indoctrinated into a system, and the system does not want to tell you how to become superbly healthy. They want you, if you got type 2 diabetes, pharmaceutical company makes millions of dollars by people being on their medication with a lot of different health issues. I have never seen a chronic disease that when a person got into a real good lifestyle, that the body didn't remedy itself. I've never seen it myself in all my experience. So, you got to, people that are on this carnivore diet, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, even 10 years is not the test of time. Everybody I've seen try to follow a high protein diet over a long period of time, they reach a certain point where they're developing accelerated aging. Don't forget, when you eat the animal protein, people, I never hear anybody mention this. Whenever your body in cellular metabolism, the waste product is nitrogenous waste products. So when you eat the animal flesh, you're also consuming the nitrogenous waste products that animal was not able to eliminate before you ate it. And that's stimulating. It's like a drug. It enables your adrenal glands to stimulate adrenaline, and you're taking that energy is coming, all that energy is coming from the protein, the animal protein. No, some of it's coming from stimulation. So I think people have to be careful, because a lot of people have not been doing this for a long time. Some of the doctors and people that are recommending it, I wish them well. I mean, I know some nice people that are doing this, and I've never seen it work over a long period of time. And I've been tracking this, watching what's going on just for almost 70 years now. I've seen people that were raw fooders try to eat raw meat, and that's plenty. There are people that did that, but that didn't work well over a long period of time, because after a while they started to develop parasites. And there was one guy years ago who told people, no, you didn't have to worry about the parasites, that your digestive juices were going to digest the parasites. No, that's not true. We're not carnivores. If you're a lion or a tiger or a wolf, you can eat, roadkill that's rotten with magnets, and you will digest it. So there's a lot of mixed information out there, and a lot of it's not correct. We are biologically designed to eat a plant-based diet. If you look at all the ancient scriptures and history and all, it's all down in scripture.
So there's a lot of people that go vegan, and they don't really do well either. So and some people try to claim we need to have at least some meat in our diet.
Well, there's a lot of people eating a vegan diet, a vegetarian diet. It's a terrible diet. If you're not eating if you're eating a vegan diet, you're eating a lot of processed. If you're eating processed food, you're not going to do any better with it if you're eating animal protein. If you're giving up being a vegan because you don't want to consume animals' flesh, I understand that. But you have a responsibility to eat the type of diet that's going to nourish your body and keep it clean by what you're leaving out. If you're eating vegan cookies, and you're eating a lot of pasta, and there's a lot of things that are vegan, I mean, they're not good for you. When you're eating vegan, if you're eating a vegan diet, you got to be eating lots of fruits and vegetables. You could use a juicer, make smoothies. You can eat some nuts and seeds, avocados, and then you can eat some cooked food, a little bit of brown rice. You hear about people saying don't eat rice, it's got poison and all. Half that stuff is a distortion of the facts. Remember, what goes on in a laboratory, but goes on in the human body is not always the same. A lot of double-blind studies are a snapshot of a particular situation that makes it look good, but the whole video of what's happening doesn't look good. So the key is, the fact of the matter, I'm firmly convinced, and don't forget, I've seen probably 25, maybe 30,000 people. So I had my own double-blind study. I have people come to me, eat some animal protein. I tell them to do it in moderation and eat it with a salad and some cooked vegetables. Or, then I have plenty of people that come to me, want to go on a 100% raw diet. They don't have a clue what they're doing. And I don't encourage them to go on a 100% raw diet. I recommend that they go on a diet and gradually get into it. But a lot of people don't last on a raw diet, as you know. And if you're eating a raw diet, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, you go back to eating animal protein, you're most likely within a year or two, you're going to have a serious problem, because I've seen it happen time and time again. I'm not an alarmist, but I don't encourage people to go on a whole raw diet unless they understand they're going to be doing it for the rest of their life. A lot of times people just they don't really have a good understanding what's really going on and how the human body really works. Whenever you go from one diet to another diet, there's always a transitional effect in your feelings and how it works. If you're going from a good diet to a bad diet, you're going to feel it right away. Anybody that's on a raw diet starts to, tries to eat something bad, you're going to know it immediately. I went through that in the early years. I've seen other people go through it. And if you're going from a bad diet to a good diet, you're going to feel good temporarily. Then you're going to feel bad, because it's like withdrawing from a drug. When you withdraw from drugs, you don't feel good. You give a person a little bit of that drug, then they feel good. It doesn't mean the drug is good for them. So there's a lot of, in my estimation, there's a lot of bad information about, different types of diets and social media. And everybody claims they work, and there's an element of truth in the beginning till they do work, but it's more about what they're leaving out than what they're eating. There's no way in the world that anybody that can justify eating a carnivore diet based on our anatomical design. We just don't look like lions, big cats. We just don't have the anatomy and physiology. You could do it. How long you're going to last is very questionable. And people use examples. I heard one doctor, I forget the guy's name, and it seemed like a nice fellow, but he's thoroughly misinformed. He was talking about the Maasai warriors in Africa. Beautiful people, remarkable physical specimens, but the average male lives 42 years and the average woman lives 44 years. Now, there is a factor with has something to do with childhood diseases or something, but that's not the main factor. Then you get the Huda Indians, the Huda natives in Africa, who eat a lot of animal protein. They're 55 and 60. They look like they're 90. They don't live long. And then, of course, everybody talks about the Inuit Indians, who live on mostly seal meat and fat and blubber, and they don't get heart disease, which is pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. But they don't live a long life, and they have tremendous amount of joint problems and things like that. So, a lot of things, statistics are being, a lot of people quoting things that really, half truths, and I mean, and of course, as you've been into nutrition a long time. I know more people tell people they're eating something. I've seen it myself, and they're not doing it. A lot of people exaggerate about, they tell you what they had on their best day or so on,
When somebody says when you say carnivore diet, what exactly do you mean?
Carnivore diet, they're talking a strict carnivore eats animal flesh, but now more and more people are eating eggs and cheese, and
when you say a carnivore diet, are you saying 100% only meat, or are they eating other things as well?
Well, yeah, some people claim that's all they eat is 100% meat. Some people claim they only eat beef. Don't forget, like I said before, they're getting the calories. They're breathing clean air, and you lose weight very rapidly on that diet. So when you lose weight, your blood sugar goes down, but it's a very dangerous diet for type 2 diabetic, because diabetes is not caused by sugar. It's caused by fat. The receptors that pick up the insulin that's supposed to lower your blood sugar are clogged with fat, so they don't pick up the insulin. There's a lot, it's sad that the truth is being so distorted. And what saddens me, a lot of the truth is being distorted by people that are really, they're talking about anecdotal information. They're not talking about what they've seen work over a long period of time. I only go by what I've seen work over a long period of time. When I say a long period of time, I'm talking about, 10, 15, and 20 years. Years ago, a lot of people went to tried a fruitarian diet, like the Nature Boys out in California. They were running around naked and, eating a lot of fruit. They didn't do well. 100% fruitarian diet. But you know, I told you about my friend that did that. I warned him. He ended up dying from tuberculosis. All of a sudden, he came apart. Why? Why? Oh, you know, then I mean, there was a period where people were talking about being breatharians. That's, you know, absolutely.
Now, what would you say to people that read the Bible and they claim that man should be eating meat because the Bible says it's okay to eat? What would you say to them?
In Genesis 1:29, it tells you what the perfect diet is for man. So from Genesis 1:29 to Genesis 9:3, which is approximately 1700 years when God released man to eat meat, it wasn't because God made a mistake. He didn't know what he was doing the first time. It was because of what man was doing and how they were slipping deeper and deeper into their sinful nature. And he released man because a lot of people don't believe the Bible. They think it's just not true. But you have to understand the Bible exegetically. When it was written, you're written at this day and age, who wrote it, what the culture was coming out of, and be able to look at it today. You have to understand the essence or the spirit of the word. So from Genesis 1:29 to Genesis 9:3, about 2,000 years. So from Genesis, 1,600, 1,700 years. From Genesis 9:3 to the time of Ruth, in the Bible, people were living hundreds of years. From Genesis 9:3, Ruth's lifespan was 45, 50 years old. Just check it out. So there's a lot of things about the Bible that I was flabbergasted years ago when I first started getting into the raw diet, because what I seen, you know, by studying in Europe, and then I studied at the Creation Institute in San Diego. I didn't go there. I followed all the information. So I've always been very, you know, and I still am that way. I study different indigenous people, you know, why certain people in primitive countries eating a diet that we were told we're going to be deficient based on the science that we were living by in this country. People were doing better than they were doing here. So, and of course, there's a lot of unfortunate people all over the world that are starving, you know, in parts of Africa and things like that. So, but people, we're living in abundance here. That's part of the problem, you know. Basically, this is simple. All you got to do is eat according to the biological design, get control of your appetite, you know, don't eat to medicate your anxiety, or a lot of people are medicating themselves with food. That's a vicious trap. So we got, there's so much to this on a deeper level that I usually don't get into. So I try to keep it basic. There is, you know, there's so many different diets out there. There was a macrobiotic diet, which a lot of people eat in the world. They do well. What's the reason? You know, it's like 70% rice and things. A lot of people say rice has poison in it. A lot of these people do well. In China, years ago, people ate a diet that ate a lot of rice, and they didn't eat dairy products. The women didn't get breast cancer very rarely. Now they're being adapted to the American ways. They're starting to develop our problems. I go shopping in an Asian store here in Staten Island to buy durian because I like to make durian pudding. I don't see anybody overweight in that store. I see loads of Asian people in there. I don't see anybody that's overweight because the store's loaded with fruits and vegetables and fish. They have big fish tanks. You point to a fish, they scoop the fish out, and they give it to you.
Wow. Well, Fred, thank you so much for all this information. It's so helpful to people, and you're still in practice. If there are people out there that are suffering from a disease and looking to do a consultation with Fred, I'll put his contact information below where you can contact me to get in touch with him.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.